Did you know that one mistake could cost millions of lives? In this story, the USA decided the fate of the war in just a few days. If you're interested in the truth about World War II, subscribe and hit the like button. There are many shocking facts ahead. Picture this. It's June 6, 1944, and high above the turbulent skies near Rouen, France, a wounded P-51 Mustang catches the sunlight on its battered wings as it plummets through ragged clouds, its Packard Merlin engine coughing out a slender trail of smoke like a wounded warrior gasping for breath. Can you feel the adrenaline surging through your veins as Lieutenant Thomas Fraser from the 334th Fighter Squadron, part of the 4th Fighter Group, grapples with his disorientation amid the frenzy over the Normandy beaches? His plane, marked with the squadron code QPG and affectionately called Jerry, slams into the French soil with a thunderous impact. Fraser emerges from the wreckage alive, only to face the grim fate of spending the rest of the war as a prisoner. Yet his aircraft serial number, 4324825, a P-51B 15ANA variant, is on the cusp of an extraordinary odyssey that will shatter the preconceptions of some of the Luftwaffe's most seasoned test pilots. Imagine standing in that very field, the scent of earth and oil mingling in the air, as the Mustang rests there, surprisingly whole despite the crash. What thoughts might race through your mind if you were a German salvage expert, honing your craft in the methodical recovery of downed Allied planes throughout occupied Europe? In mere weeks, this prize is whisked away to Rechlin, the Luftwaffe's premier testing ground, nestled about 100 kilometers northwest of Berlin in Mecklenburg. There, skilled hands restore it, piecing together parts scavenged from other irreparable hulks strewn across territories under German sway. Emerging transformed, it dons German insignia. The fuselage now sports the Luftwaffe code T9 plus HK, while its tail and belly gleam in vivid RLM-04 yellow to prevent any friendly fire mishaps from pilots who might confuse it for a foe in the heat of maneuvers. The propeller spinner gets a fresh coat of yellow, and a striking red band circles the engine cowling's nose, all in line with the Luftwaffe's protocols for seized enemy machines. This Mustang is bound for duty in one of the Luftwaffe's most peculiar and elite outfits, the Wanderzirkus Rosarius, a name that evokes a traveling circus of aerial wonders. Here, it will compel German aces to grapple with a stark truth about American ingenuity in design, the might of their industrial machine, and the crumbling edges of their own aerial strategies in the faltering skies over Europe. But let's step back for a moment. How did captured foes in the form of aircraft become beacons of harsh enlightenment for the Luftwaffe? The tale doesn't start with Fraser's emergency descent on that fateful day of the Allied onslaught, but rather amid the intensifying aerial battles over Europe, where the urgent quest for precise, methodical insights into Allied plane performance eclipsed mere scattered battlefield tales. By the middle of 1943, the Luftwaffe teetered on the brink of a profound strategic meltdown that risked engulfing their defenses, even as brave pilots exhibited unmatched valor and innovative plane blueprints continued to evolve. What would you do if you were a German commander watching American bomber swarms burrow ever deeper into the heart of the Reich, shielded by escorts whose full potential lingered in shadows of uncertainty? Decisions on tactics and grand strategy hinged on patchy data, leaving leaders in a fog. Pilots' frontline dispatches offered glimpses into enemy prowess, yet these snippets clashed wildly and mirrored the bedlam of dogfights rather than delivering orderly, repeatable evaluations under uniform scenarios. Envision the scene unfolding in the heart of wartime Germany, where the skies thundered with the roar of impending doom. Can you hear the distant hum of engines? Feel the weight of uncertainty pressing down on those defending the Reich? Hauptmann Theodor Rosarius, a battle-hardened Luftwaffe veteran whose eyes had witnessed the fury of countless aerial clashes, grasped a vital truth. Mere fragmented battle tales and whispered rumors from afar wouldn't arm German fighter squadrons with the edge they desperately needed to repel the Allied onslaught. What if you were in his boots, staring down the barrel of an escalating threat? Wouldn't you crave tangible encounters with the enemy's steeds, orchestrated sessions to pilot them in safe skies, and meticulous scrutiny to unearth their hidden powers and weak spots through first-hand scrutiny and rigorous trials? This idea wasn't born yesterday. Throughout the conflict, both Allied and Axis forces had dissected seized planes, but Rosarius elevated it to a masterful system that amplified its battlefield impact, like a symphony conductor drawing out every note for maximum effect. In 1943, acting on directives from General der Jagdflieger Adolf Galland, Rosarius assembled what evolved into the Wanderzirkus Rosarius, formerly the Second Staffel of the Verzirksverband Oberkommando der Luftwaffe, the experimental and investigative arm of the Luftwaffe's Supreme Command. This elite group gathered every salvageable Allied aircraft that German recovery crews plucked from wreckage strewn across conquered lands, spanning from the fields of France to the hills of Italy and the vast expanses of the Eastern Front. Yet their purpose soared far above mere grounded inspections in secluded rear area labs. Picture yourself as a frontline ace, your heart pounding with anticipation. Rosarius orchestrated roving showcases, dispatching these trophy birds to active Luftwaffe airfield throughout Germany and its held domains, granting combat pilots the chance to pore over them intimately, witness their acrobatics in live flight displays, and, in hand-picked scenarios, engage in simulated dogfights that mimic the real chaos of war. This initiative pierced straight to the core of a growing crisis in aviator preparation, one that intensified as the conflict dragged on and losses mounted like storm clouds on the horizon. German aviators honed their skills mostly against familiar foes, their own planes mastering maneuvers tailored to battles where adversaries mirrored their flight styles, wielded machines of akin prowess, and adhered to doctrines rooted in identical schooling and strategic philosophies. How perilous that gap must have felt, like stepping into a fog-shrouded arena blindfolded, when facing Allied flyers whose mounts boasted starkly contrasting traits, particularly in endurance across vast distances, supremacy at lofty altitudes, and relentless velocity, all bolstered by instruction that capitalized on these unique edges with innovative combat styles. By 1944, the process of reclaiming Allied wrecks had transformed into a well-oiled machine, with dedicated German retrieval squads fanning out over subjugated regions under the oversight of Bergebataillons, those tireless salvage battalions. These crews operated with astonishing precision, swiftly claiming downed sites, gauging the havoc wrought, and hauling viable planes to unified evaluation and mending hubs before the tide of Allied advances could reclaim the prizes. This setup embodied the meticulous German martial ethos, holding firm even as supplies dwindled like sand through an hourglass. The sheer magnitude of Allied aerial campaigns over Europe ensured such acquisitions through simple odds alone. Imagine the odds stacking up with every raid. As American and British squadrons launched thousands of missions each month, mishaps from engine woes, combat scars, wayfinding blunders, depleted tanks, and treacherous weather led to scores of unplanned descents onto soil still gripped by German forces. Not every bird met a fiery end or crumpled beyond hope upon touchdown. Some airmen, sensing doom's inevitability, orchestrated deliberate belly landings that preserved their crafts in remarkable wholeness, often with mere superficial wounds mendable through scavenged parts and ingenuity. Fraser's P-51B 15NA slotted neatly into this realm of redeemable treasures. The fighter had endured hits amid the ferocious escort missions bolstering the D-Day assault, compelling a hasty touchdown in lands yet firmly in German clutches amid the broader incursion. What urgency must have driven those German salvage operatives as they converged on the spot mere hours later, adhering to drilled protocols for site appraisals. They scrutinized the Mustang with expert eyes, measured the toll of strife and collision, and concluded that, for all the battering, the skeleton held strong enough for overhaul and return to airborne glory. Gingerly, they hoisted it aboard a purpose-built hauler and dispatched it to Rechlin, where seasoned mechanics and innovators labored methodically to breathe life back into its wings. The Rechlin Testing Center, once dubbed Erprobungsstelle Rechlin, and perched by the serene shores of Lake Müritz, stood as the Luftwaffe's cornerstone for appraising fresh domestic prototypes and delving deep into the secrets of pilfered adversary models through exhaustive examinations. Step into the vast expanse of Rechlin's grounds, where the air hums with the precision of machinery and the whispers of innovation. Can you picture the sprawling complex alive with purpose since its formal anointing as the Luftwaffe's hub for trials on February 26th, 1936? This bastion boasted expansive workshops brimming with precision instruments, vast proving grounds tailored for diverse assessment rituals, and airstrips meticulously laid out to host evaluation sorties in meticulously governed environments. What ingenuity must have sparked in the minds of those Rechlin artisans, masters of unraveling mysteries and mending foreign beasts, all without the luxury of authentic blueprints, makers' blueprints, or authentic components crafted to exacting standards. The restoration of Fraser's Mustang demanded a blend of clever invention and steadfast determination, a testament to the depth of German mechanical prowess amid the mounting strains of scarce supplies. Imagine the scene in those dimly lit hangars, craftsmen scavenging vital elements from fellow fallen P-51s gathered from battlefields spanning the continent, amassing a treasure trove of fittings that could be pieced together like a grand puzzle, forging a single airworthy marvel from the ruins of several scarred veterans. The Packard 1650 Merlin power plant, a faithful reproduction under license of the Rolls-Royce Merlin 63, equipped with a dual-stage, dual-speed supercharger that unleashed one F-190 horsepower at 13,750 feet under 61 inches of mercury manifold, pressure-faced rigorous scrutiny and essential overhauls, drawing on substitute pieces sourced from varied origins. This marvel of machinery stood as a pinnacle of progress, channeling far greater thrust at soaring heights than its single-stage counterparts, courtesy of an advanced intercooled dual-stage supercharging mechanism that elevated performance to new realms. The plane's quartet of 50 caliber Browning M2 heavy machine guns arranged with a pair in each wing for the P-51B setup were dismantled and substituted with balancing masses to preserve equilibrium in weight and the pivotal center of mass, adhering to stringent German edicts that forbade equipping seized planes for trials and exhibitions with live weaponry. Such a mandate stemmed from prudent foresight on hazards and the lurking dread that these borrowed birds might somehow revert to Allied grasp via accident or betrayal, turning against their temporary custodians. Every flap and rudder underwent exhaustive checks for soundness in structure and seamless function. The hydraulic networks endured stress trials and hunts for breaches. Fuel reservoirs were probed with utmost care for impairments, fissures, and vulnerable spots that might spell disaster mid-flight. The distinctive razorback hood that defined the P-51B's silhouette was tenderly safeguarded and refurbished, although Luftwaffe flyers would eventually remark on how its framed enclosure hampered backward glances when stacked against the unobstructed dome debuted on the subsequent P-51D model. Following exhaustive weeks of painstaking labor by adept hands navigating shortages with clever improvisations, the Mustang earned its clearance for preliminary aerial trials. How must those German evaluators have felt, hearts stirred by a blend of scholarly intrigue and deep-seated doubt, nurtured over years by the steady drumbeat of Luftwaffe indoctrination. Formal dispatches had painted American warbirds as rough-hewn, assembly-line churnouts that favored sheer volume over finesse, spotlighting ease of production and straightforwardness above intricate craftsmanship and polished capabilities. Many a German aviator buoyed by these sanctioned narratives clung to the notion that Yankee ingenuity aimed at churning out hordes of passable flyers, shunning the pursuit of masterful engineering and peak refinement that hallmarked premier Teutonic creations. Yet, picture the jolt as these cozy illusions shattered like fragile glass the instant battle-tested German aces settled into the Mustang's command seat and tasted directly the fruits of American visionaries' labors through deliberate architecture, advanced mechanics, and unwavering focus on mission demands. Right away, the P-51B's control station captivated Luftwaffe veterans accustomed to the tight quarters of Messerschmitt Bf 109 cabins and even the roomier setups in Focke-Wulf FW-190s. The Mustang's interior showcased deliberate human-centered planning, with levers and dials intuitively placed and readily accessible, easing the aviator's burden and freeing their mind to master the battlefield rather than wrestle with the vessel's intricacies. Dials and indicators stood out with crystal-clear markings, clustered intuitively by purpose in a layout that embraced the wisdom of human-centered design, putting the aviator's peak efficiency at the forefront. The pilot's perch offered a level of ease that outshone its German counterparts, a crucial edge on those grueling patrols stretching across hours, where exhaustion could stealthily erode judgment and prowess like a shadow creeping over the battlefield. Even through the lens of the initial Razorback hood with its structured enclosure, the field of view surpassed the cramped vistas afforded to Bf 109 operators, burdened by dense framing, narrowed perspectives, and especially dismal backward glances that exposed them to deadly ambushes from the rear, like unseen predators in the mist. But oh, the moment of awakening truly ignited when those German evaluators eased the power lever forward and sensed the Packard 5 16 of 53 Merlin surge to life with seamless building thrust that flowed like a river gaining strength. Power swelled reliably and without hesitation as the Mustang charged along Rechlin's airstrip, its quartet of blades on the Hamilton standard propeller slicing hungrily through the atmosphere. The sprint to liftoff proved remarkably brief for a beast of the P-51's heft and stature, a vivid endorsement of the engine's mighty surge and the body's sleek contours that sliced through resistance with minimal friction from dawdling paces to blistering rushes. Once aloft, the Mustang unveiled flight traits that upended every preconception Luftwaffe aces harbored about Yankee blueprints and mechanical wizardry. Can you imagine the shock rippling through their seasoned souls, like a thunderclap shattering a serene sky? The steering mechanism synced in exquisite harmony, with wing flaps, pitch controls, and yaw pedals exerting forces that aligned flawlessly from gentle landing velocities to peak dashes. Resistance on the sticks mounted steadily with velocity, offering tactile cues that felt just right without turning burdensome, and eased gracefully at slower tempos without veering into jittery overreactions or finicky responses. The plane answered inputs with sharp precision and steadfast reliability, steering clear of the jittery edginess or erratic temperament that haunted certain rivals. Its twisting agility in rolls outpaced the BF-109 by a wide margin and rivaled the stellar pivots of the FW-190, enabling swift directional shifts essential for pouncing assaults or evasive dances amid the fray. You could hurl it boldly through daring twists without it betraying any alarming drift toward loss of command, spiral dives, or other lethal quirks that might spell doom in the heat of battle. Those German evaluators methodically probed the Mustang's operational boundaries via orchestrated aerial assays, thrusting it into regimented acrobatics, crafted to expose its virtues, boundaries, and any lurking perils with unflinching clarity. The ascent prowess left them in awe and stirred deep unease over the battlefield ramifications. What strategies might you rethink if faced with such a revelation? The P-51B sustained impressive upward surges to realms beyond 30,000 feet, where its dual-stage boosted Merlin kept churning out formidable energy, undeterred by the rarefied chill that crippled Teutonic mounts reliant on solo stage compressors. Performance at lofty elevations especially troubled Luftwaffe flyers and strategists, for Yankee heavy hitters cruised routinely from 25,000 to 30,000 feet, amid sparse oxygen and biting frost. Yet their gunners' barrages stayed lethal against assailants compelled to throttle back for strikes. Interceptors from the Reich, hampered by one-stage boosters, grappled ever more futilely to challenge at these heights, their motors straining for breath while the Mustang's intricate dual-stage Merlin pumped out steady, dependable might. This epiphany hit like a cold wave to aviators and leaders who grasped the dire fallout. The Mustang didn't merely chaperone bombers to those strata, but battled there with vigor, holding edges in velocity and agility as German hunters toiled with diminished thrust, sluggish paces, and faltering grace against the ethereal void. Velocity assessments performed in regulated settings across diverse heights validated the Mustang's commanding lead in this pivotal arena. The P-51B hit roughly 440 miles per hour at prime elevation under combat power configurations, markedly swifter than the Messerschmitt Bf-109Gs, about 386 mph, or the Focke-Wulf FW-190As, around 408 mph, when gauged in equivalent trials. Such a pronounced haste edge tipped the scales in skirmishes, empowering Mustang handlers to orchestrate clashes on their terms like maestros directing an orchestra. Yankee aces could elect to strike, hounding retreating foes when odds tilted in favor, or just as crucially, bow out from dicey scrapes by surging ahead of pursuers lacking the pace to close or compel a fight. Luftwaffe pilots learned the hard way they couldn't impose battle upon a Mustang whose commander spotted peril and opted for retreat, eroding their own maneuverability in the aerial chess game to its core. The P-51's airfoil architecture, rooted in NRC's smooth flow profiles, lent it a signature silhouette and unmatched aerial economy, although Teutonic analysts observed that pristine, smooth flow in real-world ops proved tricky to sustain amid fabrication variances, surface blemishes, fasteners, coatings, and the grind of service. Even so, the P-51's airfoil crafted a generous swell of upward force while whispering through the air with scarcely any resistance, far outstripping traditional profiles and fueling the plane's astonishing endurance and thrift with precious fuel like a marathon runner who glides effortlessly where others toil and gasp. This innovative contour held its magic across an astonishing spectrum of velocities, from the gentle paces of touchdown glides to the frantic rushes of battlefield twists, delivering steady, dependable responses that lightened the aviator's burden and sharpened their edge in the deadly dance of war. Now, envision hurtling earthward in a plunge that tests the very limits of machine and man. What revelations awaited in the Mustang's diving prowess, where it claimed outright dominance over its Reich rivals. The bird could plummet at breathtaking clips without succumbing to the crippling rigidity in controls or fading authority that crippled so many contenders as they neared or breached their engineered ceilings. Aviators could haul out from sheer blistering descents sans Herculean strain or battling frozen sticks, with the chassis holding firm through the ordeal, free from the shudders of vibration, turbulent shakes, or catastrophic breaks. Those German evaluators eyed this trait with keen fascination laced with alarm, for plummeting strikes formed the backbone of Teutonic battle creed when assaulting bomber armadas and their guardians swooping from on high to amass velocity and vigor before arcing skyward once more. Yet here was the Mustang shadowing Teutonic hunters through those velocity-laden drops while retaining absolute command over its motions, stripping away a cornerstone of German combat supremacy like a thief in the night. When it came to wheeling in circles, the narrative grew layered and intricate, demanding a discerning gaze to unravel its truths. The Mustang fell short of equaling the Bf-109's persistent pivot speed in flat-out flight at tempered paces, especially since the 109 reaped benefits from Vanguard flaps that sprang forth unbidden in steep angle gyrations, staving off airfoil collapse amid constricted loops. In drawn-out, leisurely whirls at middling heights, the sleeker, featherweight Bf-109 commanded a tangible lead in both the tightness of its arc and the swiftness of its spin. But picture the shift in perspective as Luftwaffe aces, through rigorous probes and feigned skirmishes, unearthed how the Mustang's commanding leads in haste and upward thrust empowered astute handlers to sidestep those endless spirals altogether, opting instead for momentum-driven duels that played to their strengths. The Mustang shone in swapping velocity for elevation and reclaiming it with grace, preserving its vital energy reserves amid the tumult of aerial ballet. Such mastery let its pilot strike when stars aligned in their favor and slip away when shadows loomed, imposing their will on the fray, rather than bending to the foe's chosen arena of clash. Delve deeper into the bones of this beast, and you'd find the Mustang's skeletal fortitude and hardy build captivating the Teutonic minds who dissected its frame with methodical precision at Rechlin and further at Göttingen, home to even more profound technical scrutinies. The craft was forged with heft and ample buffers woven into its vital sinews, a blueprint that stood in stark opposition to German ethos, which often shaved structures to the bone in a relentless quest for lightness and pinnacle prowess. The P-51 weathered grievous wounds from the fray that would splinter frailer German flyers into oblivion, yet it limped back to haven a resilience that boosted the odds of crew endurance and kept the wings ready for fresh sorties. Yankee blueprinting ethos plainly championed endurance and ease of upkeep, embracing a touch more unladen mass to secure toughness that sustained both machines and men in the grind far longer. Imagine the sheer disbelief etching across the faces of those German aces, men hardened by endless sorties, yet bound by the chains of their own machine's fleeting stamina. Can you feel their astonishment as they grappled with the Mustang's boundless horizons, where their BF-109s and FW-190s sputtered out after scarcely 90 minutes aloft, combat included? The P-51B cradled a wealth of fuel within its belly, dwarfing what its Teutonic counterparts could muster, and that streamlined airfoil alchemy turned every drop into a saga of distance that bordered on the mythical for Luftwaffe flyers. Strap on those wing-mounted auxiliary reservoirs and picture the Mustang embarking on odysseys stretching beyond 8 hours, spanning realms that stretched the imagination of German pilots, whose effective reach hovered meekly around 200 miles, even in the kindest winds. How revolutionary this vast sweep must have felt, reshaping the very essence of shielding heavy bombers in a stroke of strategic genius. In the war's dawn, Teutonic hunters could lurk patiently until Allied guardians, starved for fuel, wheeled homeward, leaving the lumbering armadas naked to fangs over the Reich's core. But enter the Mustang, slamming that door shut forever. What would you do? Commanding from Berlin's war rooms, as Yankee sentinels now shadowed their charges through the full gauntlet into Germany's depths and safely back to Albion's shores, denying any unguarded prey. The ripple effects struck deep, a bitter chill for Luftwaffe overlords who foresaw their interceptors clawing through veils of escorts just to glimpse the bombers, spiking the peril for every German aviator launching into the breach. Step into the cockpit alongside those Luftwaffe evaluators, hearts pounding in test hops and staged clashes, where they voiced unbridled admiration for the Mustang's symphony of responses and effortless command, like a trusted steed that dances with grace rather than demands a wrestler's grip. The reins demanded neither brute force nor featherlight finesse, hitting a sweet equilibrium that let flyers charge boldly and pinpoint accurately, free from the dread of yanking too hard or tumbling into chaos amid ferocious spins. Such benevolent poise meant that everyday aces could coax solid feats from its frame in routine skies, while virtuosos unlocked wonders by plumbing its depths to the fullest. Now, shift your gaze to the grease-stained hands of German mechanics, veterans of the BF-109s and FW-190s' finicky rituals, often a nightmare in makeshift fields with sparse gear. What surprise awaited as they uncovered the Mustang's welcoming embrace for upkeep? The power plant's shroud parted in segmented panels, unveiling generous pathways to the Merlin's heart, its adjuncts, the veins of fuel, hydraulics, and wiring alike. Throughout the skeleton, hatches popped off swiftly for probes, tweaks, or fixes within. This blueprint pulsed with Yankee zeal for speediest servicing and relentless readiness, acknowledging that a grounded warbird, no matter its paper prowess, added zilch to the fray's fury. The roving spectacle of Wanderzirkus Rosarius swept Fraser's reborn steed, now dubbed T9 plus HK, on his grand circuit through Luftwaffe outposts dotting Germany in the waning months of 1944, touching down at myriad hubs teeming with combat wings. At every halt, they pitched their transient stage, unfolding elaborate showcases that laid bare the foe's aerial might and drilled countermeasures to blunt Allied edges while prying at any chinks discovered. The curtain rose with these seized prizes, rumbling past ranks of awe-struck German flyers and crews, painting eerie tableaus of adversary hulls cloaked in Reich emblems and glaring RLM-04 yellow, mingling amid homegrown hunters like ghosts at a feast. What emotional storm might brew in your chest, confronting these once distant threats in flesh and metal, transforming shadows into solid foes? Next unfolded aerial ballets, where seasoned Teutonic testers piloted the trophies through scripted flips and battle feints, illuminating traits in vivid motion that dwarfed any scroll or speech's power. For the Mustang spotlight, evaluators thundered low and fast in streaks that hammered home its velocity supremacy over local breeds, then spiraled upward past 30,000 feet to flaunt the ascent wizardry and lofty dominion granted by that dual-stage boosted engine, leaving onlookers breathless in the wake of such elevated mastery. They would showcase the P-51's superb twisting agility with a flurry of sharp wing-over-wing tumbles, revealing just how nimbly the machine could pivot its path in the blink of an eye, like a falcon twisting mid-dive to seize its quarry. Staged aerial duels pitting it against Teutonic steeds would lay bare both the Mustang's commanding edges and the narrow windows where German mounts still clung to their upper hands. Once the airborne spectacle wrapped up, envision the throng of aviators and technicians swarming the grounded prize, pouring over its every curve, delving into the command center's arrangement and array of dials, and peppering the veteran evaluators with probing inquiries drawn from their intimate dances with the seized beast. How transformative these tactile tutorials must have been, stripping away the veils of mystery shrouding foe flyers and forging a solid, graspable grasp of the perils awaiting in the crucible of real skirmishes. Yet the crown jewel of these outpost sojourns lay in the famed battles where pilfered Allied hawks clashed with Reich Raptors in meticulously governed pretend wars all under watchful eyes. Hand-picked Luftwaffe stalwarts would helm their battle-ready birds against these borrowed adversaries, tasting firsthand the ebb and flow of Allied handling in the whirlwind of simulated strife, discerning which ploys struck true and which fizzled against particular Yankee types. One vivid enactment unfolded at a strip-sheltering Jägerschwader 1 in the closing stretch of 1944, amid the swelling thunder of Allied heavies and the mounting toll on German ranks. What desperation might you sense in the air as the outpost's chief orchestrated bouts for his battle-worn elites to tangle with the captive Mustang, harvesting wisdom to cascade through the ranks? The Teutonic handler at the Mustang's reins mirrored maneuvers straight from American playbooks in genuine clashes, harnessing the steed's blatant leads in velocity and upward surge to hoard vitality across the bout, all while dodging arenas where the Mustang's weaker wheeling became a glaring liability. As German aces in Messerschmitt Bf-109Gs and Focke-Wulf FW-190As lunged forth with tried-and-true Luftwaffe gambits that had felled prior Allied prey, they slammed into the wall of frustration, encornering a Mustang steered by one versed in its gifts. Picture the chase. When Teutons hounded with fervor, the Mustang merely bolted forward, stretching the gap swifter than the trailers could shrink it, like a shadow fleeing the grasp of dawn. In bids to ascend for a perch primed for plunging strikes, the P-51 vaulted higher first, flipping the script and claiming the lofty throne. Attempts to drag the foe into prolonged spirals where the Bf-109's sharper arcs ought to shine met refusal as the Mustang's guardian stretched the distance with unmatched haste, only to wheel back in with refreshed momentum when the stars aligned for a counterpounce. These fabricated frays delivered a stark wake-up to Luftwaffe flyers who had clung to faith or wishful thinking that their wings and doctrines still sparred evenly with Allied challengers, even as the broader war tides turned grim. Witnessing and embodying the Mustang's dynamic feats and fluid battle motions hammered home that Yankee handlers in P-51s wielded profound bedrock edges in the fray, especially amid the rarefied realms where bomber guardians waged their wars. This cycle of eye-opening shocks and slow brewing epiphanies echoed through countless Luftwaffe strongholds as the Wanderzirkus Rosarius unfurled its displays from late 1944 into 1945. What inner turmoil might stir when pre-show pep talks touted the enduring edge or mere equivalence of their machines, only for raw flights and clashes to dismantle those rosy illusions. These trophy exhibitions served up irrefutable, touchable proof that Teutonic interceptors squared off against daunting rivals whose prowess far outstripped the gloss of propaganda and sanctioned updates. Walter Dahl, at the helm of fighter outfits in 1944, later chronicled Wanderzirkus Rosarius sojourns to his domains and his recollections, though scholars urge wariness, with his tales given spotted inaccuracies peppering his prose. He painted scenes of seized Yankee fighters touching down, flanked by pilfered colossal bombers, birthing odd, dreamlike vignettes where adversary hulls nestled serenely beside German craft as aviators scrutinized them intimately. Squadron spearheads seized chances to pilot these spoils in regulated pretend tussles, absorbing Allied quirks through their own senses rather than leaning on relayed whispers and formal dispatches. Dahl underscored the immense worth of such preparation, highlighting how an intimate grasp of adversary machines' prowess stood as an element impossible to overlook in the whirlwind of skyborne clashes, where fractions of seconds could tip the scales between life and oblivion. Can you sense the razor-sharp edge of those moments, where knowledge becomes the ultimate shield? In the wake of these showcase gatherings, Squadron Vanguard would orchestrate thorough instructional assemblies for their wingmen, disseminating precise counsel and battle wisdom drawn straight from their own eyewitness accounts and the thrill of commanding those purloined Allied birds. This methodical cascade of insights equipped Teutonic aviators with a grounded perspective on Allied might and the shrinking arenas where Reich Raptors could still seize fleeting edges, like shadows lengthening in a fading dusk. By the twilight of 1944, as the Reich's fortunes crumbled on every battle line, the initiative yielded outcomes that blended triumph with tragedy in equal measure. While these exhibitions undeniably delivered priceless battlefield acumen and sharpened Luftwaffe comprehension of Allied aerial arsenals, such enlightenment couldn't surmount the core frailties swelling against German ranks. What despair might you harbor, witnessing hard-earned truths clash against an inexorable tide? The air arm grappled with persistent and escalating petroleum scarcities that slashed practice sorties for fledgling flyers to the bone, hurling green recruits into the maelstrom with scant seasoning under their belts. Seasoned aces, those who had forged savvy through the forge of fierce engagements on countering beasts like the P-51, grew scarcer than whispers in the wind, claimed by the merciless grinder of 1944's aerial inferno that bled German pilot cadres to breaking point. Output of new warbirds, astonishingly robust amid the Allies' relentless hammer blows on Teutonic forges, still lagged behind the hemorrhage of losses, failing to replenish the depleted flocks. Most piercing of all, the lessons unearthed from these seized steeds frequently sowed seeds of disheartenment rather than fire, as flyers awoke to the stark measure of their handicaps, like a veil lifted to reveal a chasm yawning below. With mounting lucidity, German aces acknowledged they commanded lesser mounts, or at the very least, vessels outmatched in the pivotal realms dictating their duties. The P-51's blistering pace, boundless horizons, and unmatched prowess in the heavens' upper reaches stood unrivaled by any frontline Teutonic interceptor in the fray. The scholarly harvest from these Mustang trophies transcended mere airborne assays and skirmish appraisals, delving into realms of ingenuity that stirred profound curiosity. At Rechlin and Göttingen alike, Teutonic innovators meticulously unraveled P-51 innards to decode Yankee fabrication arts, choices in substances, and nuanced blueprint strategies. They scrutinized the airfoil framework and profiles with unyielding precision, dissecting assembly arts and striving to fathom how American visionaries had conjured such streamlined aerial grace. The Packard Fava 1653 Merlin drew rapt scrutiny, its intricate dual-stage compressor with cooling intermediary heralded for unlocking those breathtaking lofty feats. Fuel pathways came under keen inspection as technicians puzzled over the secrets behind such prodigious endurance. Hydraulic networks were probed for their steadfastness and comparative simplicity in upkeep against German counterparts. Time and again, these sleuths marveled at the unwavering excellence in raw elements permeating the craft. Yankee abundance in vital resources, premium aluminum blends, bespoke irons, and dependable synthetics empowered creators to weave frames that married robustness with manageable heft, all while streamlining the birth process. By 1944, the Reich wrestled with dire deficits in such essentials, compelling reliance on makeshift stand-ins that frequently faltered in resilience, longevity, or crafting ease. Probing these Mustang captives unveiled refined production rituals that birthed genuine hordes without skimping on excellence benchmarks. Yankee workshops churned out P-51s via polished conveyor streams that upheld astonishingly precise fits and uniform caliber across legions of units. Teutonic output, by contrast, leaned ever more on fragmented crafting and tucked-away dens strewn across the land to evade the bomber's gaze, at times enlisting ill-prepared conscripted hands, breeding erratic standards, sluggish yields, and mountain woes in sustaining frontline flyers. The purloined Mustang, branded T9 plus HK, soldiered on with the Wanderzirkus Rosarius until December 10, 1944, when both the vessel and its steward, Oberleutnant Leo Potjans, met their end. Archives of the era leave the precise doom shrouded. Did it crumple amid a showcase soar, succumb to Allied thunder from above on its roost, or yield to some other shadow of conflict. By then, in its reborn tenure, the bird had crisscrossed the fatherland's expanse, alighting at myriad Luftwaffe havens and imparting tactile schooling to throngs of German aces who absorbed priceless, unmediated wisdom on Yankee aerial artistry. Fellow seized Mustangs mirrored this evaluative and illustrative duty for the Luftwaffe's elite troop. Teutonic ledgers and post-war sleuthing affirm that no fewer than 2 P-51s assuredly flew under Wanderzirkus Rosarius banners at sundry junctures through 1944 and into 1945's dawn, donning the Reich tags T9 plus a TA and T9 plus a .K. Scholarly tomes occasionally err in cataloging T9 plus FRK and T9 plus Poies as extra Mustangs in the fold, yet diligent delving clarifies that T9 plus FK cloaked a nabbed P-47D Thunderbolt, no Mustang kin, while T9 plus PK veiled a Soviet Lavochkin LA-5FN Marauder. Imagine the enigma wrapped around that T9 prefix in the Luftwaffe's ledger. Absent from any formal roster of active wings, it whispers of a makeshift emblem crafted on the fly for the Wanderzirkus Rosarius's shadowy dealings with purloined birds, sidestepping the rigid hierarchies of Reich aviation like a clever fox evading the hounds. Records whisper of one seized P-51B taking root at Neuropin Airstrip, nestled some 60 kilometers northwest of Berlin's bustling core, where it schooled Hungarian aces in the art of wielding their Focke-Wulf FW-190s to counter the Yankee Mustang's sting. What alliances must have forged in those tense skies as this exchange of battle lore to Teutonic comrades acknowledged the Mustang as a swelling storm cloud, demanding tailored defenses spread far and wide like seeds on the wind? The drills hammered home the wisdom of spotting and pouncing on those slender slivers where German and Hungarian mounts still held sway. Think of the tighter coils in lazy loops at gentler paces and lower realms, while religiously shunning the traps that fed straight into the Mustang's crushing dominance in velocity, upward thrust, and lofty dominion. But step back with me now and ponder the ripples fanning out from those Luftwaffe aces who tasted the Mustang's might firsthand, grasping its secrets in ways that transcended mere battlefield ploys. Here stood the Mustang as a stark, unyielding monument to Yankee forge and intellect matching or surpassing Teutonic triumphs in vital arenas, shattering the facade of propaganda that had long painted American mills and mines as crude underdogs. How must that bitter dawn have broken in their souls, challenging the bedrock beliefs about who truly led in the race of nations, and fueling a slump in spirits among German flyers who awoke to the harsh truth of battling from a deepening pit that no valor, grit, or sly maneuvers could fully bridge. The Mustang's boundless reach gnawed especially at the Reich's warlords, for they keenly sensed the game-changing shifts it unleashed. Envision the air campaign over the fatherland. Once a beast, they might have tamed when Allied shadows peeled away mid-journey due to thirsty tanks, now morphing into an unyielding torrent as Mustangs stretched their vigilant wings over the full arc of raids. No longer could Teutonic hunters bide their time for guardians to falter and retreat before unleashing on the heavies. Every incursion now bristled with unbroken escort shields, spiking the hazards for German interceptors who had to carve through veils of elite Allied predators just to glimpse the bomber herds. The tale spun by assembly tallies painted a crushing portrait of mismatched might. By the fading light of 1944, Yankee workshops birthed around 500 P-51s each moon cycle, a surge that crested even higher to 881 steeds monthly by January 1945's peak. This deluge more than doubled the collective churn of all Reich single-motor hunters from BF-109s to FW-190s and fresher breeds alike. And these Mustangs arrived clad in dependable hearts machined to unwavering excellence, precise gauges that spoke truth, and wireless voices that hummed steadily without fail, contrasting sharply with the faltering, shoddily forged gear, plaguing late-war Teutonic birds like persistent thorns. Yankee aces soared in vessels pampered by expert tenders, stocked with authentic replacements, proper implements, and guiding tomes, while German crews wrestled mounting upkeep nightmares born of vanishing stocks, makeshift substances, hastily schooled or coerced hands, and scattered repair dens. The depth and polish of Yankee aviator schooling shone ever clearer through the dissections of clashes by those Luftwaffe survivors who lived to tell. What edge must that have granted as American flyers reported to combat posts with 200 to 400 hours etched in their logs, brimming with drills and sophisticated war dances, blind navigation through tempests, and tight-knit swarm tactics. By late 1944, Teutonic instruction had been slashed to perilously brief stints, throttled by dire fuel droughts and the vanishing of drill grounds and sage mentors. Fresh faces sometimes stumbled into the front with a meager 100 hours aloft, skimpy battle rehearsals, and zero mastery of veiled skies, rendering them woefully unready for the storm's fury. These raw recruits squared off against battle-tempered Yankees in plainly superior chariots, a matchup that birthed foregone tragedies mirrored in the Reich's casualty scrolls. The hemorrhage among German fighter ranks spiked to ruinous heights through 1944 and into 1945's dawn. Those grizzled veterans who had clawed wisdom from the jaws of strife to wring every drop from their mounts' fading gifts while dodging enemy lures, fell or faltered swifter than the rushed, flawed academies could mold successors. Picture yourself in the cockpit of a fledgling German aviator, heart racing as you lift off with scarcely a whisper of preparation. Can you feel the chill of inevitability, knowing that these raw recruits, armed with just a smattering of drills, endured only a scant few sorties before fate's cruel hand struck? They plummeted from the skies, parachuting to uncertain freedom if fortune smiled, or meeting a fiery end if it turned away. What agony must have gripped the Luftwaffe's core as it bled out its most precious, irreplaceable treasure, the battle-forged aces whose savvy and instinct spelled the difference between triumph and tomb, vanishing at a pace that defied endurance. The spectacles of Wanderzirkus Rosarius laid bare these brutal truths straight to the faces of German flyers, long before the thunder of real warfare hammered them home, where every misstep wagered existence itself. How might you steel yourself, armed with this forewarning that, in theory, bolstered your odds by unveiling the foe's true face, yet in the same breath exposed the crumbling fortress of German aerial might across every front? Those who gripped the Mustang's controls or beheld its aerial poetry grasped with a piercing unease that they stood against adversaries wielding deep-seated edges in the realms that decided destinies, blistering haste, endless vistas, mastery of the upper ethers, and sheer overwhelming swarms. This insight, though laced with battlefield cunning, heaped upon the crushing mental weight borne by Luftwaffe warriors through the dimming days of 1944 and into 1945's dawn, as the grim panorama of defeat grew too stark to dismiss. Envision the quiet nods of reluctant admiration from certain Teutonic evaluators, those who danced with seized P-51s across repeated trials and feigned frays, fostering a professional esteem for Yankee craftsmanship and blueprint wisdom, even amid the enmity of war. Through their own hands, they discerned the Mustang as a seamless tapestry of intent, wisely channeling traits vital to its sacred duty of shadowing bombers across vast voids. The craft boldly traded away facets like endless wheeling prowess, better suited to raw aerial brawls in exchange for velocity, prodigious endurance, and lofty vigor that let it cradle heavies deep into the Reich's heart and spar with zeal from takeoff to touchdown. What sound reasoning this embodied, embracing calculated trade-offs to nail precise wartime goals, shunning hollow peaks of prowess that ignored the grind of genuine ops. German innovators, versed in the forge's harsh lessons from their own trials, couldn't help but marvel at the Mustang's birth-friendly form. How must that have stung, witnessing a blueprint primed for floods of output through segmented builds that invited simultaneous crafting, uniform pieces that eased the learning curve, and clever strokes that streamlined the mating of parts. Yankee forges birthed Mustangs in droves, upholding unyielding excellence because the core architecture wove in factory demands from the outset, not as a hasty patch. In stark relief, Teutonic blueprints often chased unbridled feats at the cost of ease in making yielding machines that demanded painstaking labor even in prime times, let alone amid the Reich's waning chaos. Now, turn your gaze to the throbbing core of Fraser's P-51B and its kin from those initial batches, the Packard Phi 1650-3 Merlin, a realm where Yankee might eclipsed German strides. The Packard firm masterfully replicated Rolls-Royce's Merlin under American skies, unleashing legions of these intricate hearts with astonishing uniformity and caliber, undaunted by the blueprint's labyrinthine depths. Imagine the roar of that intricate dual-stage compressor, chilled by its clever intercooler, propelling the Mustang to feats of enduring might in the thin, frigid heights that left German straight-line power plants gasping in envy. Can you hear the steady thrum of superiority, a symphony of engineering that Teutonic inline hearts simply couldn't echo? Yet this beast proved steadfast and reasonably serviceable even in the mud and haste of forward bases. Meanwhile, picture the plight of Reich motors like the Daimler-Benz DB605, plagued by escalating flaws in 1944 as dire scarcities compelled makeshift ingredients, and the scattering of forges to dodge the bomber's wrath crippled oversight, turning once proud engines into fickle shadows of their former selves. What weight must have pressed upon the souls of those Luftwaffe aces, who through their own sweat and senses had measured the chasm yawning before them, a burden too profound to wave away as mere dips in spirit? These warriors had stormed into the fray brimming with assurance in their elite schooling, the prowess of their steeds, and the sharpness of their battle creeds. By the waning moons of 1944, the scars of endless clashes and the stark lessons from seized Allied wings via spectacles like the Wanderzirkus Rosarius had chipped away at that bedrock faith, layer by agonizing layer. How must it have stung to confront in crystalline sharpness foes armed with commanding leads in machine might, crushing hordes in the skies, unyielding supply chains, deeper drills in the art of war, and sharper eyes on the enemy's moves. Venturing into the storm under such lopsided odds demanded a valor that teetered on the edge of resignation, a grim embrace of probable doom or grievous harm like knights charging dragons with blunted blades. Echoes from ex-Luftwaffe flyers and post-war confessions from that era often paint the desolate vista of scanning the distance, spotting Yankee fighter phalanxes cresting the edge of the world, and knowing deep in your bones that no clever twist or burst of speed from any frontline German bird could evade those guardians. Engaging Mustangs in the lofty realms meant dueling from a pit of handicaps in every vital trait that tipped the scales. Shunning the fight? That spelled letting Yankee heavies rain ruin unchecked, hastening the Reich's martial and forge foundations to rubble. Neither path gleamed with promise for a soldier's honor. Yet these were the barren forks in the road that German interceptor crews navigated each dawn in the war's dying year, as their grand strategy crumbled past any hope of salvage. The Wanderzirkus Rosarius pressed on into the budding months of 1945, staging showcases with assorted purloined birds so long as precious fuel flowed in adequate streams and airstrips held firm against the Allied tides surging from dawn and dusk horizons alike. As those invaders burrowed ever deeper into the fatherland from every compass point, the troops' freedom to roam securely to active outposts for their revelations faded like mist under the sun. In time, the endeavor ground to a halt as the overarching shadow of Teutonic war machinery engulfed even these elite squads, once favored with the last drops of dwindling treasures. The closing chapters for sundry seized P-51s under German reigns linger veiled or vanished in spots, thanks to fragmented chronicles and the whirlwind of the Reich's ultimate unraveling. Some trophies undoubtedly met fiery ends on their perches amid the escalating fury of Allied sky strikes pummeling Reich runways through 1945. Others perhaps fell to deliberate torches lit by withdrawing Teutons, denying their reclaim by the onrushing Allied legions. A handful might have endured to the bitter close, later plucked by victors pushing into German soil, though the fine grains of such reclamations scatter thin or dissolve into history's voids. The wisdom harvested from methodical dissections of nabbed Mustangs armed German aces with precious battlefield lore on machine limits, prime clash windows, and chinks to probe but envision the futility, like arming a besieged castle with sharper arrows while the walls crumble under siege engines. Grasping in your mind that the Mustang could outpace, outsoar, and vastly outreach any Teutonic hunter yielded scant battlefield balm when duty's iron grip compelled those pilots to lock horns with these exalted foes over sacred homeland. The scrutiny and showcase initiative stood as a refined, orderly bid to blunt Allied supremacy via fresh maneuvers and heightened aviator savvy. Yet clever steps and erudition couldn't bridge the abyssal gaps in lesser aerial prowess, the smothering weight of outnumbered skies, stunted schooling from fuel famines, and the endless voids in replacement pieces and battle-hardened tenders. Picture yourself standing amid the rubble of a war-torn Europe, the echoes of roaring engines still lingering in the air like ghosts of battles past. Can you feel the weight of history pressing upon you as we delve into the remarkable saga of Lieutenant Thomas Fraser's P-51B-15NA, bearing serial number 43-248-25, which transcended its crash landing on that fateful D-Day to unveil truths that pierced the veil of illusion for German aviators. From a crumpled relic in a French meadow, it morphed into a harbinger of enlightenment, vividly showcasing Yankee mechanical genius and compelling Luftwaffe warriors to confront the unyielding tide of Allied dominance in the skies, a reality no barrage of rhetoric could obscure. This valiant machine fulfilled its profound instructional duty until its demise in December 1944, having journeyed far and wide through the Reich, granting tangible encounters and stark, unflinching evaluations to legions of Luftwaffe ranks. What lessons might you draw if you were a strategist in Berlin's shadowed halls, witnessing how tales of seized Mustangs under Teutonic banners highlighted the Luftwaffe's astute and disciplined quest to decode adversary strengths, even as the fatherland's fortunes spiraled downward? Instead of leaning wholly on splintered frontline tales and dubious spy whispers, German commanders poured precious dwindling assets into salvaging, mending, and methodically piloting nabbed Allied birds in governed arenas. This methodical pursuit of battlefield wisdom embodied the pinnacle of martial prudence for any force aiming to pierce the fog of enemy prowess with precision, persisting undaunted amid a plight growing ever more desperate. Yet, envision the bitter irony unfolding through the Wanderzirkus Rosarius initiative. It showcased how even masterful espionage, unyielding expertise, and rigorous dissection fell short against the colossal burdens of scarcity and grand-scale setbacks that ensnared Germany. Those Teutonic aces who danced with purloined Mustangs harvested priceless insights into machine quirks and prime combat dances. But such treasures mostly affirmed the grim suspicions already festering in the minds. Allied wings boasted commanding, game-changing edges and prowess that Teutonic forges and ingenuity couldn't rival in the conflict's twilight, hobbled by pinched supplies and dire geopolitical straits. How parallel this ordeal of Luftwaffe evaluators grappling with the Mustang's might and reconciling with Yankee innovation mirrors the wider Teutonic martial odyssey in World War II's closing acts across every front and branch. Early swells of faith in Reich technological ascendancy and clever maneuvers ebbed away, yielding to the dawning truth that Allied legions commanded overwhelming leads in pivotal domains. Boundless forge output, unfettered grasp on vital ores, endless tides of fighters, and, with time, refined inventions that equaled or outshone German feats. The Mustang emerged as a glaring emblem of these Allied triumphs. What would you sacrifice to craft such a marvel, a steed tailored to shepherd bombers across endless voids, churned out in hordes with unwavering caliber despite its intricate weave, while Yankee academies honed pilots to unleash its full fury in the fray? German squads could probe, unravel, and even admire these boons via endeavors like the Wanderzirkus Rosarius. Yet replication or potent reposters eluded them, chained by the iron fetters of strategy and supply woes. The Mustang's mechanical elegance shattered and scattered Teutonic myths about Yankee craftsmanship, meticulously sown by the seeds of indoctrination. Sanctioned narratives had sketched Americans as wizards of churning out basic, hardy gear in floods, yet inherently inept at the finesse of elite blueprinting. But step into the shoes of those evaluators. The Mustang proclaimed irrefutably that Yankee minds could birth polished, streamlined visions that rivaled or surpassed Teutonic standards in arenas of strategic import. Its airfoil architecture channeled cutting-edge wind science into mass forging triumphs. The Packard FAPSR 1653 Merlin Hart pulsed with Yankee skill in berthing labyrinthine, peaked thrust motors and vast arrays with steadfast excellence. The craft's woven mechanisms echoed advanced mechanics that artfully juggled rival demands to forge a unified, potent arsenal honed for its core quest. Luftwaffe flyers who communed deeply with the Mustang couldn't in good faith belittle Yankee ingenuity as rough or primitive per the party line. They tasted firsthand a vessel that responded with grace through every aerial realm, excelled in the vital strategic ballet, and revealed deliberate, masterful blueprinting in each vein and bolt. This intimate revelation demanded concession that American prowess and technique far outpaced Reich biases, rippling outward from aerial blueprints to profound inquiries on comparative national strengths in forge flows, scholarly forging, and inventive depth. Ultimately, the grand aerial assault on the Reich triumphed in no small measure thanks to the P-51 Mustang's singular fusion of talents, unmatched by any rival wing in the theater. Picture yourself amid the vast, unforgiving skies over wartime Europe, where the thunder of bomber formations echoed like distant storms brewing on the horizon. Can you sense the tension building, the fragile hopes of Allied crews hanging by a thread, until the Mustang's wings finally spread wide? Long-range guardianship for heavies plunging deep into the Reich's heart stayed a distant dream, practically impossible, right up to the Mustang's surge in numbers during the dawn of 1944, when it launched into real combat sorties. Earlier Allied Sentinels, such as the sturdy Republic P-47 Thunderbolt and the versatile Lockheed P-38 Lightning, shone in many arenas with their impressive traits. Yet they faltered crucially in endurance, lacking the reach to shadow those lumbering bombers through full raids to far-flung German marks and safely back to English soil. How frustrating that gap must have been, like a chain too short to hold back. The inevitable German hunters could simply hover patiently until those escorts hit their fuel walls and veered homeward, then pounce on the exposed armadas during the raid's deadliest stretches. The toll? Crushing losses among the bombers that compelled a halt to those bold thrusts inward, a bitter retreat from the skies they sought to claim. But imagine the seismic shift when the Mustang stormed in, reshaping the entire escort ballet by delivering unbroken, potent shield across every mile of the journey, no matter the target's remoteness. What a game-changer Teutonic interceptors lost those golden windows of vulnerability, where heavies droned alone. Now, every clash demanded they tangle straight with Yankee aces, spiking the peril for Luftwaffe flyers on each defensive scramble like a dagger twisting deeper. Layer that with the Allies' swelling ranks in the air and the Reich's fading ace quality, eroded by slashed drill hours that left recruits raw and unready. And suddenly, Mustang Guardians turned bomber campaigns over Germany into a viable, enduring Allied spear, while German countermeasures grew ever more wasteful, fruitless, and in the end, utterly doomed. Step into the labs and airstrips where the Luftwaffe dissected nabbed P-51s with surgical precision across various hubs, delving especially deep at Göttingen, where Teutonic innovators compiled exhaustive blueprints of the Mustang's secrets through meticulous trials. These probes gauged velocity at diverse heights, ascent vigor across the full vertical span, peak reachable altitudes, endurance in assorted setups, and response traits through every corner of its operational realm, all under rigidly governed assays. Those masterminds penned comprehensive dossiers chronicling every discovery, stacking Mustang metrics head-to-head against Reich fighters in matched scenarios, and probing the blueprint quirks that fueled its observed feats. These scrolls flowed through Teutonic aviation networks, enlightening blueprint wizards on Allied methods, arming battle schemas with precise data for mission crafting, and handing frontline overlords grounded views of foe strengths to shape their war dances. The findings echoed the frontline cries from dogfight survivors. The Mustang commanded profound tipping edges in the arenas, vital for shadowing heavies across continents. That methodical scrutiny spotlighted the bird's phenomenal reach that unlocked grand escort quests, its lofty supremacy birthed by the dual-stage boosted power plant, blistering top clips that granted battlefield leeway, and synced responses that eased aviator strain while fueling sharp war maneuvers. Teutonic sleuths cataloged and praised the blueprint strokes behind these gifts. The sleek airfoil that sliced air with grace, the mighty and intricate boosted engine nest, the generous inner fuel holds bolstered by outer pods, and the deliberate weaving of mechanisms throughout the frame. The harvested wisdom bolstered verdicts that frontline Reich hunters needed, sweeping overhauls to spar evenly with today's Allied breeds, let alone the evolution sure to sprout from ongoing clashes. In response, the fatherland sparked bold new hunter blueprints in 1944, aimed squarely at clawing back aerial rain via cutting-edge wonders. Like the Focke-Wulf FW-190D, with its straight-line heart for boosted upper realm might, the Focke-Wulf TA-152, tailored for soaring intercepts, and a host of radical jet and rocket-driven visions. These endeavors mirrored a stark awakening among Teutonic blueprint wizards and war chiefs that their mainstay hunters, such as the BF-109G and FW-190A, stood no chance in truly challenging the cutting-edge Allied steeds like the P-51 Mustang. Given the yawning chasms and pivotal realms of prowess, yet envision the crushing barriers they faced, acute deficits in vital substances. Assembly halts triggered by relentless Allied sky assaults and pinched provisions, alongside the swiftly crumbling tapestry of the conflict's grand canvas, all conspiring to bar these visionary blueprints from surging into battle lines and volumes potent enough to sway the tides of fate or shatter the Allies' grip on the heavens. The rocket-like Messerschmitt Me-262, propelled by groundbreaking turbine flames, marked the Reich's boldest vault over Allied piston-driven hunters via this explosive new propulsion sorcery. Can you picture the terror it instilled? A streak of unmatched velocity and thunderous armament that turned it into a reaper of Allied heavies when guided by aces who mastered its quirks like a falconer taming a wild raptor. Alas, this marvel wrestled with persistent heartaches in its power cores that crippled its readiness for the fray, demanded vast stretches of unyielding stone paths ripe for Allied hammers, guzzled rivers of ever-scarcer sky elixir, and dawned too tardily in mere trickles to reshape the war's destiny or pose a mortal wound to the Allies' aerial throne. Even the Me-2's dazzling leaps in invention fell short as a bulwark against the Allies' smothering legions in the clouds and the Luftwaffe's fracturing bones, its fuel veins running dry, its training halls echoing empty. As the curtain descended on World War II's European theater in its final act, what heartbreak must have unfolded in witnessing the Luftwaffe's methodical unraveling as a formidable sword arm, stripped of its power to mount any substantive defiance? Devastating hemorrhages among its aviators, relentless and deepening thirst for fuel that parched their wings, forging woes born of Allied bombardments, and the Allies' tidal wave of numbers all wove a noose that strangled German sky shields into futility, no matter the valor or daring of solitary flyers. The seized aircraft scrutiny initiative soldiered on as far as the crumbling world allowed, striving to dispense battlefield secrets that might tip the scales toward longer lives for Teutonic aces, even as the war's inexorable verdict loomed like a gathering storm, heralding utter capitulation. Imagine yourself in the weathered boots of those German evaluators who had communed deeply with nabbed Mustangs and pierced the veil of Allied machine mysteries? How must their hearts have swirled with a tempest of sentiments as the end drew near? As career warriors, they couldn't help but salute the masterful strokes embodied in crafts like the P-51, even as sorrow gripped them for aligning with history's vanquished in humanity's bloodiest saga. Many gazed unflinchingly at the abyss, harboring no fantasies that the Reich's downfall would be anything shy of absolute and without mercy, having tasted personally the Allies' colossal edges in every facet of martial might, like an avalanche burying all resistance. The saga of the captured Mustang evaluation effort unfolds as a captivating and enlightening vignette in the annals of World War II's aerial chronicles, showcasing how disciplined war machines endeavor to decode and blunt foe superiorities via orderly wisdom hunts, even amid the jaws of despair. This venture armed Teutonic flyers with battlefield gold through intimate tangles with purloined birds, yet such nuggets ultimately buckled under the core asymmetries in forge might, substance flows, inventive reach, and seasoned ranks that defined the sky clashes of 1944 and 1945. Reich warriors battled with astonishing bravery, razor-sharp battlefield cunning, and unwavering expertise, yet squared off against adversaries boasting ampler treasures, finer arms, deeper forging in the arts of war, and a commanding perch in the grand scheme that sealed the verdict like an unyielding fate. The confession from Teutonic evaluators that they had never tasted responses akin to the Mustangs marked a soldierly nod to Yankee blueprint triumphs and a grounded grasp of the profound divides Luftwaffe aces navigated in the heat of clashes. What deeper truth could emerge from such candor? This admission, wrung not from leaflets or distant whispers, but from the raw grip of the stick and the rush of wind, underscored how grappling with harsh verities often demands that visceral, undeniable brush that shatters illusions, defying any cloak of hopeful delusions or doctrinal blinders. The enduring echo of the Wanderzirkus Rosarius and kindred pursuits stretches far past their frontline ripples, illuminating the profound merit of methodical wisdom quests, steadfast skill in mechanical dissections, and unflinching appraisals of adversary strengths, even when the broader war horizon darkens to its bleakest hue.